Ultimately, what we're going to talk about is securing your value and receiving the compensation that you deserve. We're hearing all over, especially right now in the news and the media, regards to co-ops, commissions, how you get paid. This is going to be something that it will be a game changer as we move through 2024 and even into the future. So again, what is it that makes you different than that of the other agent? What is your value? And what is it that you are bringing to the table that the sellers are like, absolutely, without question, I'm going to pay Anna for her services because she is absolutely a rock star when it comes to selling our home. So let's jump in. First and foremost, the surprising truth is that most agents don't have a powerful program that supports a compensation package that they deserve. And therefore, the result then is that they have to sell more units to make up the difference. There's a chart here on your screen, and on the left-hand side, Nelson Newby. He's a brand new agent. Mr. Nelson just got in the job, and he can't support his value, and he charges 2.42%. We have Rachel Rockstar then over on the right-hand side, and she knows her value and charges 3.5% for every transaction that she closes. If Nelson Newby were to close 10 transactions, that results in $151,250 dollar bills in GCI come into Nelson Newby's pocket. However, you'll notice over there on the right-hand side, Rachel Rockstar, who has a refined program and has dedicated her craft to being a rockstar seller, is making $218,750 dollar bills, y'all. Making a lot more money for the same amount of work. We can go into the 15 units, the 25 units. Something that I want you to take a look at is that bottom number at 50 closed units. Nelson the newbie, at 50 closed units, we probably would no longer even call him a newbie. We would probably call him an expert. But as we all know, if you close 50 units, you are working day in, day out. You are dedicated to your craft. You are in the car all the time. You're working the phones. You're working the clients. You're working those contracts and making $756,000, as opposed to Rachel Rockstar doing the exact same amount of work, but knowing her value and putting in her bank account $1,093,750 in GCI. It's huge. It's a game changer when you understand and know your value and how to then ask for that because you know what you bring to the table. And so therefore, some of you who may have just scored yourself at a 9, maybe I just unfortunately just knocked you down a little bit and you're like, ooh, maybe I'm not a 9. And that's okay, right? This is where we're striving for. And that's exactly why we have these Pulse Weekly sessions to get us all to that 10 number that we can then ask for that 3.5%. So I want to talk about net sheets. And again, compensation obviously kind of goes hand in hand when it comes to our net sheet, right? And I know that net sheets, again, are something that is incredibly scary. Some of you, if you're anything like me, you're like, ugh, the only way that I passed math is because the cute girl that sat next to me and let me copy off of her test. Some of you may be like, you know what? I'm really good at math, but I don't have the ability to actually talk about my worth. And so I let the client determine what my compensation is because I don't know how to fight for what I'm bringing to the table. So as we know, obviously net sheets, how do we use them and why do we use them? They are a resource for the seller to know how much they are going to net. Just as you are concerned about how many dollar bills are going in your pocket, so is the seller. So there's a standardization of what you're going to do after the closing with your brokerage service fee. And these numbers are often, like I said, scary. So we want to make it fun and safe and make it feel like it's more of an enjoyable aspect of selling homes as opposed to the scary, ooh, let's circle that number. Ooh, you're only going to make X. Instead, let's make it a celebration. Ooh, you're going to make X, right? We're going to secure what you get paid for in your service. We're going to do that up front and do that first. And it provides the seller the options on how to compensate or to even attract additional buyer interest. So without further ado, like I said, let's jump in there. Net sheets block objections. They block them, right? So when you're sitting there at the listing appointments and we actually are talking about net sheets, you have the opportunity to block objections when it comes to pricing, when it comes to your commission, when it comes to the time frame, photography, staging, all of those things no longer become a worry, a question, or a concern for the sellers. Because at the end of the day, just like you, the seller is only worried about those dollar bills that they will be walking away with when all is said and done. Let's talk about the components then of a net sheet. Over here on the left-hand side, we have a copy of a net sheet that we here have created, and you're gonna have the opportunity to do your own as well. And we'll talk about that here in just a moment. You'll notice up there at the top, we have the initial asking price. And now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a key word here, initial asking price. You'll notice it doesn't say closed price. It doesn't say for sale price. It says initial asking price. Anybody have some ideas of why do we use the word initial asking price? Feel free to come off mute, throw it in the chat. Why do we use initial asking price as opposed to closed purchase price? Any ideas?
So I could say a couple of things. So one, final selling price is really not an exact science. It's all about the buyer pool and what they're willing to pay. So the only thing you can go off of is history, what recently sold, what went pending. And so it's just not an exact science from that perspective. And then obviously with sold in 65, the initial asking price is intended to be competitive, not the final selling price, so that you can leverage the high demand to drive the price up.
Absolutely. Tennille, I love it. Rockstar student right there. And Barbara also said in the chat box, they will probably be different. Ladies and gentlemen, initial ask price is where we're starting. We are hoping that we are going to go above that, meaning that we are putting it out there that the net price on here is hopefully only going to go up for you, Mr. Seller, because this is where we're starting as the initial asking price. We're hoping that based on the competitiveness of the market, that the amount is only going to go up. So we're almost saying that this is the worst case scenario on a seller net sheet. It's going to only get better from here, Mr. Seller. Then we talk about our compensation. We talk about a service fee. So again, some offices and some brokerages are obviously different, especially in each state. So please make sure that you're checking with your managing broker in regards to broker service fees and if those can even be collected within your office. We talk about a closing service fee. So what are we paying those title companies or those that are providing those closing services? We talk about paying off their mortgage balance. How much do they owe on their current property? So after we pay that off, what is it then that's going to still remain? We talk about then those net proceeds, those dollar bills, and then highlight very briefly any other potential seller's costs. So let's break it down here in a little bit more detail so that this is actually a little bit more understandable for each of us, especially those of you that may be new, and even those of you that are seasoned agents. I'm going to break down this net sheet in a way that I think is going to probably make it much easier for you also to explain to your clients. So as we mentioned, that initial asking price provides a sense of control for the seller. It establishes a price that the home will sell in the first 65 hours, as Tennille mentioned, was sold in 65, and it sets you up for a temperature check if there are any pricing objections, either in the conversation or when we receive our first offer. So that's that first number. Again, we are almost thinking of it like this, is that you're taking an order. And after you've talked about comps and what homes are going for in the area, our initial asking price is our starter. It's the right platform to be successful in getting your house sold for above that number. Initial asking price also provides that sense of control, as I mentioned, and gives you, again, that ability to then take that temperature gauge and really ask, what is it that we are seeing from the amount of showings, the amount of views on our website, the amount of interest and phone calls that we're getting on our for sale sign? So I have a question for you. If we don't get an offer from a buyer's agent commission, will this deter agents from bringing buyers to my home? So again, this is where we get into that compensation and commission question. Oftentimes people will say, hey, you know what? If we don't offer any commission to a buyer's agent, Will that deter a buyer or a buyer's agent from coming and seeing my home? What are your thoughts? Orlando says possibly. Anybody else?
I would say let's look at what else has sold around the area and see how much they offer for compensation and see if that will.
Absolutely, right? Just like we're comping out our property and basically taking a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom house and looking at what is our 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom house, we're comparing what is happening also in the neighborhood. If the property right down the street is offering a 3.5% commission to a buyer's agent, should we also be considering what are we comping ourselves out as well? Right? So it's a very hard for a new home buyer to pay for commission as well. Absolutely no, Lynn, yes, of course. It shouldn't, but it probably does, Jocelyn says. So here's the deal, guys. At the end of the day, if the buyer wants the house, the buyer will find a way to get it. They are either going to call the number, your number on the for sale sign, or they're going to contact a different agent. If that agent's saying, hey, you know what? I'm not going to show you this property simply because there's no commission being offered. First and foremost, they're in legality issues with their real estate license, but it's possible. So let's take a look at what other sellers are currently offering as the buyer compensation in the neighborhood. I'm not sure who it was that chimed in and said that, but you were spot on. Absolutely. That's exactly how we handle that objection, right? Again, Marcia said, use your CMA and look at the neighborhood for competition. Exactly, 100%. Let's go with another one. Will I get less showings if I don't offer a buy-side commission? I kind of gave you the hint to this question already. A way that you can handle this objection is all buyers have access to view your home online. Our goal is to establish an initial asking price that creates a buyer frenzy. We want your home to be a must-see, must-buy opportunity. A must-see, must-buy opportunity. Those two, ladies and gentlemen, are the best objection handlers that you can take when it comes to talking about agent commissions. Right? On the buy side or on the list side. Remembering that on the list side, when you are operating as the listing agent, your value and what you are bringing to the table is going to determine what you will get paid. If you're going to resort back to the traditional model, and as Brendan Bartic always says, the hope and pray method, then you should also be hoping and praying that they're willing to pay you that blank amount of commission. Go into that seller's presentation with your value, with your presentation, no questions asked. There then is no even question of what it is that you yourself are being offered in a commission. You'll notice here on the screen, and something that oh, sorry, go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, Greg, I just wanted to kind of pause because I know as we jump into this brokerage service fee, it's its own conversation, right? There's so much to sort of peel back on the onion, as you like to say. Before we kind of move on, I just want to kind of reiterate the value that you were sort of sharing on the buyer compensation. If you note on that net sheet, we don't make our commission or our value negotiable. We provide an option to the seller on the buy side. So you giving those buyer objections or seller objections, excuse me, on buyer compensation are really powerful. Give them the option on the buy side, but we know our value. And that's how Elite Home Partners, and you can speak to this at a very high level, how we help to secure our value as a team.
Absolutely. What I'll show you is here back on this net sheet here for you. I wish I had this a little bit bigger, but you'll able to kind of see specifically how we do it. So you'll notice there we have that initial asking price. Directly underneath that, we have the service fee, aka the listing agent commission, listed as 3.5% for our sold in 65 services. You will notice then there's boxes and check boxes that allow the seller to determine what it is that they want to offer to a buyer. So 3.5%, 2.5%, 1%, or even other. Maybe they want to do a flat fee. Maybe they want to do, I don't know, 1.75%. There's that option, and it gives the seller the control to be in what they are offering the buyer's side. But as Anna mentioned, right, we have that set price because we know our value. There is no question in regards to what we bring to the table and why we earn that 3.5% when listing your home. So yeah, I appreciate you, Anna, kind of going into more detail for that. In regards to broker service fees, again, as I mentioned in the caveat there, obviously this is going to be dependent on your specific location. I know states are different. So again, please make sure that you are consulting either with an attorney or your employing broker in regards to brokerage service fees. You'll notice again on this net sheet that we have created, that number is there. It is in stone. It does not change. There's that $5.99 brokerage fee, and it's a direct reflection of the level of service that we provide. We deliver it with confidence. And we ask, what if my client doesn't want to pay it? The question is how do we create this to be a win-win? And something that we have found is that when we have created that brokerage service fee, you are paying a 3.5% commission for me to get the job done and get us to the closing table. That brokerage service fee is a lifetime. I'm going to be of service to you when you have questions when it comes to your taxes. I'm going to be there when you need the whole entire closing packet when you're ready to go sell again. I'm going to be there and provide my services with that brokerage service fee of collecting all of the documents that you had at the closing table when little Johnny came in and you came out of the U-Haul and little Johnny has his fish bowl and everything's packed up. You packed everything back into that U-Haul and you're super excited. You just closed on the house. We get to the new property, we start unloading. We have no idea where those closing documents went, right? It wasn't a priority anymore. So that brokerage service fee allows you to use me for life and a service even past the life of the closing table itself. Again,
so Greg, can we kind of role play that really quick? Let's just say I'm the seller and I go, Greg, I can appreciate everything you're saying, but man, this brokerage service fee, you're nickel and diming me. Can't you do anything about it? What are some options that you give me?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I don't want you to necessarily feel like it's nickel and diming. The 3.5% is all of my services that I get you to the closing table, getting you the top dollar and netting you the most money. That $5.99 service fee is then the lifetime after the closing. Everything that needs to be taken care of after we walk away from that closing table. Unfortunately, Anna, a lot of traditional agents, they see you at the closing table, they get the dollar bills commission check, and you don't hear from them again, hoping that you are going to give them a call when you're ready to sell. I'm not that agent. I'm going to be here for you for life. I'm going to give you weekly, monthly updates on where is your house and the value going. I'm going to provide you those resources come tax season. You won't even need to go dig in the filing cabinet. Tell you what, I'm just going to make sure that it's in your inbox so that you're ready to do your taxes come April. What is crazy, ladies and gentlemen, is those are additional touch points where you're like, ooh, I don't really want to call them. What am I going to say? Like, they're not ready to sell. You have additional opportunities to open up conversations with them, explore how is the new house? How are things doing? I've already provided it to you. I put it in your inbox. If you have any other additional questions or need anything else, certainly feel free to give me a call. Again, this is what puts you above and beyond your competition. Last caveat right there is obviously you're going to want to determine how much your service fee is. So again, this is going to be determined on your location, your office, and the services that you ultimately provide. So again, please consult with your employing broker or an attorney in regards to brokerage service fees. The power of those service fees. So again, as I told you, and where we talked about commissions being different on the amount of 3.5% versus newbie Nelson at 2%. If you sell 10 homes in 12 months with a transaction fee of $5.99, that's an additional $5,990 in your pocket. Now, I know some of you are like, ooh, that's a trip to Mexico, toes in the sand, drink in my hands, loving it. And I would encourage you to pause and instead think of it, that's $5,990 that I can now invest in a client appreciation event, that I can invest in a pop buy, that I can spend to get them a pie on Thanksgiving, a Christmas gift, a additional marketing that I can do within their neighborhood to let other people know that I am the rock star real estate agent of X, Y, and Z neighborhood. If you sell 50 homes in 12 months with that $5.99 transaction fee, that's $29,000 additional dollars in your pocket. Again, not to go spend on vacation. Sure, yeah, if you want to, you can spend some of that, but how you can reinvest in your business to help grow your business to be even bigger and ultimately provide additional value to the clients that you just helped close a deal on. If you sell 100 homes, that's an additional $59,000 in your pocket on top of your commissions.
And Greg, even at that amount, that you're talking about your first assistant, right? That can be
Absolutely.
the difference between your first piece of leverage and waiting an entire year to get that leverage in place.
Absolutely. And then in addition to that, right, now you have that assistant that then allows you to do the 50 transactions that we talked about with Rockstar, with one of the Rockstar agents who's been in the business for a long time. She's now leveraging and not only making more money, but using this service fee to then leverage and pay that person to also help her grow her business and become a 10 times better real estate agent than what she was when she started. Rachel has a question, is that a one-time fee or is it truly for life? I just do it as a one-time fee and it's a lifetime of service from me. So one-time fee, a lifetime of service. If you wanted to, you can charge that on the buy side. Absolutely. Again, I would encourage you obviously then to just check with your employing broker. Again, states are different and have different rules based on how each of those work. Jocelyn, do you charge it every time they sell? I do. There are times, obviously, when I have like investors, if I have investors that are selling multiple properties with me each year, maybe that's a fee that I can say, hey, you know what? Because you're going to use me for multiple different properties this year, I'll go ahead and I'll reduce that by $100 each time because I know that they're going to be repetitive clients. That's a great way for you to, instead of slashing your commission, you slash that brokerage service fee maybe by $100, $200 to earn that repeat business. Again, there's lots of different ways that you can certainly do it. Then we follow up, obviously, with our mortgage balance. We're going to ask the sellers during our initial phone call. And this is key, folks. Ask during the initial phone call. Please, please, please do not do this when you're seated at their kitchen table and you're in the middle of your listing presentation. The reason is because Mr. Bob's going to get up and he's like, oh, you know what? I think that's in my filing cabinet. Let me go down in the basement and go and try and find it. I'll tell you exactly how much we owe. And you've now lost Bob and you're now sitting there at their kitchen table while they rummage through all their files to figure out, did they make last month's payment? After last month's payment with the interest, with the taxes, what do they owe now? Have that conversation on your initial phone call. Hey, Bob, do you happen to know what your mortgage balance is? And he's going to say, ooh, you know, I don't know that off the top of my head. Okay, well, obviously our appointment's tomorrow for 4 p.m. If you wouldn't mind just pulling that and having that available for us, that'll help us in our process of filling out the net sheet so I can determine what exactly we're going to have and make for you and what you'll make when selling your property. Does that work for you? Okay, so we're setting that up in our initial phone call. It does not have to be at the penny. Again, you'll remember this is an estimated net sheet. This is not our final settlement sheet. So estimated net sheet. So it does not have to be the final penny. And again, you're going to confirm what that amount is right there at the closing table when you're there at the appointment itself. Yes, Mr. Alexander Duvall.
Hey, Greg. I was curious, what if it's bad? What if they owe like 99% on their mortgage or they're in a negative situation? Do we just ditch it? Like what do you do?
I certainly don't think you should ditch it, right? They're looking at you as an advisor to help give them the advice of what they should do. It really then comes down to, are they trying to get out of their house because they're trying to prevent a foreclosure? Are they trying to get out because they have to move? Or is maybe now not actually the time to sell? Would it actually make a better sense for them to make some additional payments over the next year, get that mortgage balance down so that they can then walk away with actually money in their pocket as opposed to being upside down? And that's where you really get the opportunity to explore those options with them. And that's where I always say you can walk away then as Superman wearing the red cape because you actually did what is best for your clients, not only for your own personal wallet, right? So again, determine what is it that's best for them. I understand, yes, some people are going to be upside down on their mortgage. If that's the case, are they willing to bring money, unfortunately, to the table in order to sell their property? Marcia asks, is the mortgage balance also in public records? It certainly is, but it's not going to be updated as well as we would want it to be. Public record is on delayed in those payments. Again, right now we're here on January 16th. A lot of people probably just paid their mortgage bill. So that number is not going to be reflective in the public record, as well as it could be from the actual client themselves. Again, it's a great opportunity for you to use. Hey, I noticed that this is the mortgage balance that's on public record. Can you confirm? Can you deny? Can you give me an updated number? This box, ladies and gentlemen, is my favorite. If I could, I would have sparkles, fireworks, music playing in the background when we get to this box. We always want to focus on the net, never on the cost. The net proceeds here on this screen, for example, is big. It's larger. It has a box around it. Ladies and gentlemen, when I literally fill this out, I also dot it and make a little smiley face. I do some exclamation points. Again, this is money in the bank. This should be something that we are celebrating. After all is said and done, Mr. Bob, the seller, here is what you are going to walk away with at the closing table. Make it celebratory, not, ooh, this is all you're going to walk away with at the closing table. The tone and the celebration is going to literally be what makes or breaks you there at that table. Obviously, it's our main focal point in our conversation. We write the net proceeds in extra large font so it stands out. And after delivering, we circle. And again, as I mentioned, put that beautiful little smiley face on it and make that a celebration. So let's talk about how you even calculate net proceeds. As I mentioned earlier, and I gave you before, yes, I'm horrible at karaoke. I'm also horrible at math. So I personally take along my Padfolio every time that I go to an appointment, and right on the inside of my Padfolio, actually you can't see this because the screen's up in front of me, right inside my Padfolio, I have my handy dandy calculator, right? I utilize that to help me look like the rock star. Any of those numbers that I can automatically have specifically in there is going to help me in doing the math and get them to their net proceeds, right? And so again, that's where you are going to be different than that of another agent, because again, the other agent hasn't even thought about this. The other agent says net proceeds, yeah. The settlement statement will come out. It comes out about 2 weeks before your closing table, and I'll let you know how much you're going to make. You are going to be different. So again, I encourage you not to practice this in front of your clients. Maybe take some time before going to the listing presentation to practice these scenarios and these numbers. You're going to want to prepare to handle the seller pricing doubts. So anytime that they have those objections and those doubts, you're going to want to know how to speak to them. This is not at the penny or to the penny net sheet. Again, I will remind you, it is an estimated net sheet. Please make sure that you're communicating that to your clients. This is not to the dollar. This is not to the penny, sir. This is my estimate of what you would walk with. And again, we're going to focus then on the net. In this math guide right here, you're going to notice, so our initial asking price of $500,000. In this scenario, Bob the seller has selected to offer a 2.5% commission to the buyers, which then results obviously in roughly 30 grand. With our $599 brokerage service fee, along with the $2,900 title policy, we then get to a mortgage balance of $155 that they still owe on their property. After I've done the math, I get to the $188,499. I subtract that from my $500,000 initial asking price, and $311,501 bill is what they are walking away with at the closing table. Does everybody hear how excited I am about the net proceeds? It's all about how you present it and how you talk about it. It's the scary versus the fun and happy. This sheet over here, Texas Realtors over here, they created this number, and this scares me. Numbers scare me. I am not good at math. Over on the other side, though, I have my estimated net sheet, one that I then created. And look at, I can make it much more exciting, much more understandable, and again, a lot less scary. That's right, Miguel. Bring that air horn to the appointment. You're gonna be blasting that air horn when you get the signature there on the bottom line. So your Pulse Power Play this week is about building a powerful net sheet. Building a powerful net sheet for yourself, not the scary one that I just showed you, but one that works for you. You can scan the QR code right here and you can get our template, the one that we've previously shown, or you can actually then design your own. Step one is to define your net sheet components. Again, you can use our Canva template to create your own. You're going to print and include in your listing presentation. So you're going to take this document actually with you. You're going to practice your net sheet math ahead of time to make sure that you are understanding what gets subtracted, what gets added, and ultimately get you to that correct price. A plus sign and a minus sign, I promise you, will be the determining factor of your client selling the listing agreement with you. And then finally, step 5, you're going to review and verify with your managing broker or attorney before delivering to the public to ensure that you are correct in that net sheet, that also those additional fees, brokerage service fees, et cetera, can actually be used specifically in your area.